Good evening, everybody. We're having this meeting tonight because of a slight mishap with advertising the agenda last week. Otherwise, everything's the same. Right. Item 1, apologies and absence.
We have received apologies from Josh, from Kevin, from Mark, and Councillor Capozzoli is going to join us if he can after the Medford meeting if we're still going.
Yeah, it's another one I was supposed to be in. Yeah. I don't like me there anyway. Right, item 2, declarations of interest. Any? No?
I'm assuming not because there weren't any last week.
Right, minutes of the previous meeting. I take it we can accept that because we did accept them, didn't we?
No, we didn't accept them last week. I wouldn't allow you to accept them last week because that's a decision.
I know, you're naughty. Yeah. Okay. Are you all happy with the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody fine? Wonderful. Right, Councillor's report. Well, Josh gave his and he's not here, so unless you have something in writing, Emma?
No, nothing further.
Right. I have nothing further to say on the district. Highway matters. Do you have anything?
Nothing further than was reported by Josh last week.
Right. Item 7, community and safety and police matters.
I've still got nothing to report.
Okay.
Emma, can I just check that? Does that mean there's absolutely nothing on the website? It must mean I've not checked it.
Nothing that is remotely recent.
Okay. Good.
Paul, if you want the stats upgrading, I'm sure I could arrange something. I mean, if rather than just being nothing every month, I mean, I just want to be very clear that that's my own personal opinion, not the opinion of the council.
Okay, item 8, financial matters. Accounts.
No changes from last week. Are we all happy with the payments as listed on the agenda?
All happy?
Yes.
Fine. Dennis?
He's on mute.
Happy?
Can you nod? You can nod if you want to, Dennis. Or you can shake.
I'm fine, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Right. Now, apart from a nuclear bomb, we got item 9, planning matters. Tim, you've been leading a lot on this. Would you like to carry on from that one, please?
Thank you. Okay. Right, 2 actions. First, we have a draft letter that I have circulated ahead of the meeting. Thank you very much for those who've commented on it so far. My proposal was that we authorise Kevin as chairman to sign that on our behalf and send it as a parish council view into SSDC. Any tweaks and any changes I think we should discuss now. So that was the first, that's one item. Also, I attended Brimpton Parish Council meeting last night on behalf of this parish council. There was an interesting and I won't call it robust argument, but actually they were very much on side with us, and subsequently hopefully you've also seen the response that they put forward into district council planning on it. The discussion was actually a very good one. They listened to what we had to say. They had, interestingly, they actually delegated 2 of their members to go and formulate their response separately from, so they arrived with a good, well thought out position. There was one note that the chairman of Brimpton Council said that he had an interest and did not take part in the discussion. I believe that may be because of his day job with the National Trust. However, as I say, there was also mention that the National Trust has written in planning objecting to the proposal as well. The vote at the end from those who were disinterested, not expressing an interest, was unanimous. to raise an objection to the planning application.
Right, has anybody else got any further comments?
I know, Tim, from your draft letter, that there's a tiny tweak that possibly needs to be inserted with the number of properties.
Yes.
I have counted that on the register of elected there are currently 215 properties within Chilthorne Parish.
Right. Okay, that's good. Thank you. The other thing is, as the last time this morning that I checked the planning application site, there were 59 comments that had been raised by people on the application, and all were objections. That included some from outside the parish, some from within Brimpton, as well as ourselves. But as I say, that number, even if not all were within Chilthorne Doma, I think it represents a fairly good percentage, and certainly more than I've seen on any of the planning applications since I've been around the village. So I think the views appear to be fairly unanimous in concern, to put it mildly, over the planning application.
Not that's relevant, but have we found out who owns the land?
No, I don't know. Emma, do we have anything from Mark on that? I take it.
There is some confusion from two different sources. The name actually escapes me. The same name has been given to me by two different sources, but the relationship to the village differs. However, both sources have told me that the person that owns it doesn't live anywhere near the village.
So it doesn't care.
I think they're London direction somewhere, as from what I've heard, but I don't know that for definite.
Okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, just for our interest, it might be worth asking Mark separately, because he I suspect would probably have the best ground.
He is one of my sources.
Right. Okay.
Well, it's just a bit concerning if they own another plot further on. If they succeeded on this one, they'll obviously try for the next one.
I can understand the concern. Again, from what I've managed to ascertain, that isn't the case. But again, I don't know for definite. The only way we'd know that for definite is to go to the land registry and do a search.
Yeah, I think the other thing, Paul, if I may say it, is that actually, another application would stand by, fall by its merits. This one we are objecting to pretty much as strongly as we can, and I doubt whether it would strengthen our case or weaken it, depending on who actually owned the next field over. Because
I know it's not relevant, but it's I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no, but it'd be nice to know. But I don't think it's I think it's desirable, non-essential.
No.
I mean, okay. In terms of the comments on the letter, Hamish, your comment was you thought I was over-egging, or we were over-egging the comment about access, I think, through Thorne. Is that a view that people want to take out of it, or do they want to leave it in?
Well, I just thought that through Thorn Lane is good.
Okay, I mean, the reason that was in was a number of comments by people who live in that area, that particularly cycling, there can be a clash of pedestrian and bicycle access, particularly around the way the gate on the Thorne, on the road with no name that goes to Thorne, is actually currently set up. Most of that I think is reasonable, and certainly when I've walked it, there's been no problems. But then I've not tried to fight bikes at the gate.
It's fair to say that the size of the road is not going to be suitable for that amount of traffic that's going to need to go in it. So they'd need to have some kind of road improvement on there anyway, in terms of allowing and this. I guess there were comments in the session where we talked about making a dedicated cycle route between Chilthorne and Thorne up that route, and a dedicated area for walking. So certainly, if they were going to look at giving access on that road, we'd need to ensure that cyclists and pedestrians can travel safely between Chilthorne and Yeovil.
Particularly if we were trying to, if there was a need to ensure effective two-way cycle, a two-way cycle route on it. I mean, say, do we want to raise that now, or do we want to put that on ice until any further process, part of the planning process?
Well, hopefully this won't go ahead and we won't have to discuss it. We'll just leave it as is. Any further comments on this application?
Just that the people living down the lane, i.e. the vets at the bottom, the Luskins, and I can't think of his name.
Ian Taylor?
Ian Taylor, that's the man. Yeah, I mean, it's going to, sort of a dramatic effect on their dwellings. It's going to sort of devalue those quite considerably, I would have thought.
We've raised the comment that that it will have a significant impact, particularly on those living next to it. I think that a debate in terms of of value of property would be between the owners and the developers. The council were to go ahead further. Then I don't know what the process is on that. I'm trying to be cautious because, of course, most of the people who will be most affected there are not our parishioners directly, and their views were, I think, reasonably taken up by Brimpton. Equally well, they're members of the village community, so we've allowed them to take part in the discussions, and that as is right and proper.
I think linked in with that, for the purpose of the official minutes, we discussed last week about moving the boundary of Brimpton and Chilthorne to include that potential development area within the Chilthorne Parish, for two reasons: for making sure they are going to be very much part of our parish, and secondly, all the parishioners that would potentially live there were the development to go ahead will certainly want to have a say in the village, and if they're still part of another parish, they're going to have absolutely no say of what happens in the village. So there are two different angles there to raise, depending on how this application goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was no discussion last night on boundary changes. I did not raise it, and it was not raised. However, one of the councillors did raise the financial benefit that would accrue to Brimpton from the development and the increase in housing,
Which is quite substantial.
Yeah. So I think my suggestion on that is that we hold our fire. I think we at the moment, I suggest that we ask Kevin to sign and send the letter as is, but that we monitor development very closely, and if things do not appear to be going our way, then a separate letter could be logged in discussing the parish boundaries. I think at the end of the day, those will be two separate issues. They'll be closely linked, but I wouldn't want our objections to get tied up in a legal bun fight, in terms of who has which. And equally well, we want to keep our powder dry. If we want to be able to potentially start the long campaign that will be required to move a boundary. And realistically, we probably wouldn't be able to do that until after the houses were well in progress.
Anyone else? No. Tim, would you like to put a proposal in?
Okay, I propose that we ask Kevin as chairman to sign off the letter as is with the change to the house numbers updated.
I'll second that.
All in favour?
Yes, all in favour.
Yep. Fine. That's what we shall do.
Okay, Emma, shall I send that letter to you?
Yes, please. Yeah, I will discuss with Kevin if he'll have the opportunity to send it within our arranged extension of time. If not, I will send it on his behalf.
Okay, thank you.
Right, we come to item 10.
Apologies, Mr. Chairman. One more thing on planning. I received an email this morning, unfortunately, or even though it would have had to move with me at the end of last week to make any difference. There is another application within the village that we are being consulted on. Obviously, when we get to item 17, you might have to change our mind on when the date and the time of the next meeting is because of this. They are requesting, however, comments by the 15th of October. The address is at Broadway, Main Street, Chilthorne, and the proposal is the removal of an existing single-storey attached garage and the erection of a single-storey and double-storey extensions to either side of the dwelling house. I will leave it at this point for you to consider whether you require another meeting to discuss it.
So what house is this?
Broadway.
What's the size of the present house?
I don't know. Bear with me, I'll see what I can find out. Give me a moment. I'm just using another piece of equipment to try and find the plans to answer your question. And my answer will be as quick as my broadband and South Somerset's website allow.
Should have it in time for next month, then, in which case.
Yeah, for Christmas, I reckon. Are you being disparaging about my broadband speed? Or about South Somerset's website? Or both?
Well, about South Somerset's website and the poor connectivity that this area has.
Very diplomatic answer.
Still don't
Okay.
understand why you can't get it up there when it's down on the A37 here. It's ridiculous.
You're happy to keep a window open, Paul. I'll quite happily run a cable from your place to mine.
Well, as I say, that box across the road from me, that has 135 meg. And you're only, what, a mile up the road?
I would actually agree with Adam. Even at I'm considerably closer to you, Paul, and the connectivity in my area dumps at regular intervals. It's not good. I think Adam's comments on the previous planning application were absolutely relevant and correct.
It's so close, but so far, isn't it?
I see.
Apparently, it's all to do with the telephone lines being old, and copper. And
it's to do with the routing as well. So when part of the village got put in, it was routed down via Ilchester, and then other parts of the village were then routed directly to that local point of presence. So it's a mess.
Okay, I now have the information that you require. Sorry to interrupt your conversation. Broadway is the property pretty much exactly opposite the access to the village hall. Their driveway is opposite the access to the village hall. They are proposing, as you look at it from Main Street, the garage, single-storey garage to the left-hand side of the property, which is attached, to be removed, and a two-storey extension going there, and a single-storey extension going pretty much up to the boundary on the other side of the house.
I think that was Mike Griffiths' house.
I'm just thinking that makes a big house, doesn't it?
I think we probably need to give this a little bit of time and consideration, not least because I suspect there might be views from the neighbours as well as from the applicants.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring it up so that you could consider it, and we can arrange a meeting if we need to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, so anything else on item 10? No, first thing is that item 10, clerk and
No, that's it. That's
correspondence.
pretty much kind of 9 and 10 put together. Is that application to be fair?
Okay, we move on to item 11, website.
Emma, if you're happy, I will just give a summary of the discussions that have been had. So since our meeting last week, we had a discussion with regards to the website and how it should be used moving forwards. I think the general view, which we will vote upon, is that the website look and feel should stay the same as it currently is. However, there'll be more of a focus on providing easier access to parish council content and making that very easy to access. Since last week, the menu has changed to now include a dedicated link to Parish Council. And the view will also be that the clerk will be, with the support of training and technical support as needed, will be responsible for all the content that sits within that particular area. And the view will be, we'll review then the use of the website moving forward, but we should make sure that there is a dedicated area and it's well advertised for how to access the parish council information for all the legislative reasons, etc. However, we should obviously also, my view is that we should remain open to, if there are any parts of the village that wish to utilise the website for promoting any activities or anything else like that, we should always remain open to that. But we should make sure that the parish council content, etc., does have a prime place on the website. I think that about solves it, isn't it, Emma?
Yes, that sums up very nicely our discussions. And bear with me, I'm finding the relevant piece of paper. Yeah, and the comments that I've received from Kevin in his absence that I received today, that summary would address his feelings and concerns as well.
So the view, I think, is that we need to vote as a council that we are happy to proceed with the website as it currently stands in terms of look and feel, and that we will support the enhanced promotion of parish council content, and obviously remain as an open source to be able to support the village for communications moving forward. Are you happy for that to be the proposal, Emma?
I don't have an opinion. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul?
Okay.
Is it compliant?
It will be.
It will be, that's fine then.
So that's the proposal.
That's
You're
the
happy with-
enhancement, really, Paul, to the parish council content, is to ensure that we are compliant.
Right, fine. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Stephen Hamish's pen, fine. Adam, obviously. Right, that's agreed.
I've got two sort of follow-up supplementaries to that, if I may. One, and I'm equally guilty, we really ought to get our mugshots on there.
I think absolutely, Tim. The view, I think, is that we want to probably try and build an improvement on the original photographs that were on the website in terms of the standard background. So what I'm proposing is, first of all, to invite you to email me if you have a friendly headshot that is appropriate to use, that you'd be happy to do. Failing that, if people don't have the resources to do so, I'm sure I can arrange a suitable time to take a photograph of yourself somewhere at a mutually agreeable place in the village, at a suitable distance to use on the website. But that will at least, remove the current placeholders we have on the website. Thank you, Tim.
Will a passport photograph do?
I think, Dennis, we're looking for something potentially a little bit more
Informal?
informal. Yes.
Really? I don't like photographs, but there we go.
See, something like that, Dennis, with a smile would be perfect. But because you can't smile on a passport photo, that's why it's possibly more formal than it needs to be.
I think the view, Dennis, is that we should be trying to be an approachable council for our parishioners.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Can't you take a screenshot and you've got us all then?
I think we might want to edit the background a little bit. Exotic
Mine's a bit cluttered.
Okay.
Right, I've got one further one, and that is I think we ought to formally review the website at intervals, either 6 months or annually. First of all, to check that we are still compliant with whatever regulations come along, and also to check that we're happy that it is, actually meeting the needs of the parish and ourselves.
I think as well, Tim, that as a council, it would be really useful at the moment. We've still got a lot of our parishioners who don't really know the website's even there. I've tried a little bit to work with the What's On publication, so obviously it's referred to in there, but it'd be good to allow our parishioners to be aware of things like the forum, so they can discuss matters, obviously, so we can get a really good temperature for what the concerns are across the village as a whole, really. But yeah, I think once we start to formalize the content on here, that would be really good. But then obviously, I think it's about promoting it as well as a single source for the village.
I think you're right, Mark, that the What's On leaflet is a very good way of doing that. At the moment, that's search itself, but as soon as we get into slightly more normal processes, that would be a good way, and we could simply place an advert, effectively, an infomercial in that.
That's it.
Anybody else? Oh, fine. Right, item 12, verge planting.
Right, I think I'd better lead on this one, if I may, because I've spoken to Lynn, but Luscombe would ask for this to be put on it, but she is unable to be present. Emma, is that okay if I do that?
Fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, this is come out of the Chilthorne Green Step side. You may recall that we spoke about a year ago, or just less than that, about proposals that part of the verge be rewilded on Sentinel Road. That was turned down by ourselves because of concerns that we apparently could be responsible for its upkeep in perpetuity. Lynn has come up with has spoken to the council and has come up with a compromise solution which she is proposing, which is that we get a license to plant the verge, or to plant a limited area of the verge. The gardening license is, by my understanding, and Emma, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it is a considerably less onerous item. The Highway Road Records has recommended that the license be held by the parish council rather than by another body. I've gone through what the license says, and basically, if I can paraphrase it, Somerset County Council, as the highway authority, grants the licensee permission to plant shrubs and plants in that area of the highway shown on the attached plan. And the plan here was to do a small triangle of land on the corner between Sentinel Road and the road with no name heading up the Thorn that we've discussed. Clearly, if the developments went ahead, this would be overtaken by events on that. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, we could hopefully get at least a year or so of benefit. There are a series of restrictions in terms of the need to continue to keep the items trimmed and properly cut, pruned and trimmed during continuous license. Since we're looking at wildflowers rather than shrubs or trees, that is a less than onerous imposition, I suggest. You're not allowed to put a wall, fence, hedge or other barrier or any other structures. No holes should be dug to a greater depth than 1 meter. The licensee should not remove soil, and you won't plant poisonous plants in it. The rest of the and there's a requirement to keep that area in a trim and tidy condition. My suggestion is that actually this is both reasonable. I think a small area there could make the village approach look considerably more attractive as we move into the spring.
I'll take your knowledge on that. I'm not aware of this particular type of license. So
okay, it's an S142 license.
The S142. I was just about to ask that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's called a gardening license document. I'm very happy to circulate it. But as I say, it's having gone through it, it looks actually something very reasonable. Kev had also previously mentioned that we might consider providing a grant for the seeds for the area. Last time I spoke to him, which was about a week ago, he was still happy with that as a concept.
Tim, as you've got the section 142 license information in front of you, is there an associated cost mentioned there or not?
I don't believe there is. Bear with me.
Because there will be a cost. Don't stress too much because I can find it. I just wondered if you had it in front of you.
No, I don't. I'm just reading the email trail between the highway department and road records and green steps, and no money attached.
Okay, that's fine. I'll find out how much it is so that you guys can agree whether or not to proceed with the license. So although the planting might not be happening until next year, you will need to try and get the license.
Good idea.
Plenty of warning.
Yeah. All in favour?
Yeah, fine.
Fine. Excellent. Lovely. Still on planting allotments.
So, Mr. Chairman, nothing further to report from the last week. To give a summary, that we're going to look at introducing the starting the availability of the allotments beginning of next year, so January, and have it as a calendar year entitlement. We agreed in a previous meeting about a deposit that would be taken, and the views that we're going to be using the next couple of months to build the promotion on the website to allow people to request a plot, and then the current allotment owners are going to be preparing the land area so it's going to be suitable to start to be used. The views that I'm next month's meeting, I'll come with any proposed costs for materials as required for the raised beds.
Fine. Any questions?
There was one question raised that I'm raising on behalf of Kevin again. He does apologise for not being here to raise these himself. The query basically runs along the lines of the fact that we signed up for a year ourselves. Well, you signed up for a year yourself, which obviously means that we don't have a 12-month window to offer people as of January. So it may be that as a council, you need to consider sooner rather than later that you're going to extend that allotment license with South Somerset to be able to offer that 12-month calendar.
Can I suggest that before we make a vote on that we wait until see what the uptake is? Because before we make the decision whether we're going to extend it, if there is no uptake, no foreseeable uptake, then there's little point in us paying the additional £20. It is, however, only £20, but we need to make sure that we do this. But I also have to caveat that with that we need to give it enough chance to be promoted within the village. And the idea of people going out and thinking about gardening in December or January is probably not going to be the easiest time to promote it.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to raise it. Thank you, Adam.
It's very good. Thank you.
Can I suggest a halfway house on this one? We can say that in principle we would look to extend if there was a reasonable uptake on it. So that would then allow Adam to say that Parish Council would almost certainly provide a 12-month one if people are asking about it. But at the same time, it gives us the option if actually we look at it and we get 1 to 2 people only or something like that. we could then reconsider.
As a, I guess the advantage of having the renewal of the license offset would mean that if we were at some point were to decide we weren't going to continue with it, it does allow for some time for us to clear the current tenants off and to put the land, if necessary, back into a condition where it can then be handed back to the council. So having that as an offset is an advantage. But yes, I would say in principle, if we would say we'll take a 1-year renewal at that point, but then we can review the actual it closer to the renewal time based on the uptake.
Yeah, I would suggest that maybe we could go for allotments on the agenda next time to agree that particular point that we in principle agree that.
Okay, anything else? That one? No. Right, item 14, Tim. You're on mute. I got that.
I'm not now. Right, we had a Village Hall committee meeting on Monday. We went through a number of the usual items. In terms of finances, the Village Hall is currently financially healthy. It received a very useful grant because of the COVID loss of revenue. On the other hand, currently its revenue is considerably less than its expenses per month. It can sustain that position for quite some time, clearly not indefinitely. But at the moment, there's no major issues there. As I reported last time, the hall is now open with the school using it. But at the moment, there are no other current users booked in, with the exception that British Oxygen, the weekly, I think it's weekly one, is currently looking at restarting. There's several others that are under consideration, but we believe that one particular one may have found an alternative location for. Not sure. In terms of the other items, the only one that is probably pertinent to this forum is we discussed the broadband, and the Village Hall Committee have said that the school would certainly like that in place for their use, please. So they have asked that we consider restarting the application for broadband for it. I recognise that there is the risk that it will have a limited use over the next few months, depending on what happens with lockdown. But certainly, I don't see the school not using the Village Hall because it's being used as part of their COVID risk reduction measures for their pupils. So I think the only item that really comes out is are we happy to continue with the work to get broadband in there?
It would be handy for us at the council meeting as well.
In there.
When we eventually get back there.
Yes. It'll be a while. You all happy with that?
Yep.
All right, fine.
Adam, are you going to be able to go ahead with that?
Yes.
So Emma has the relevant paperwork to go through that. Technically, cabling,
back to the
etc., and networking requirements, I'm happy to look after that. That's no problem at all, and getting it set up. So I think if we can get the application sorted so that the phone lines put in, etc., and sorted out, then I'm happy to support the needs of the Village Hall to get that up and running and working. I was going to suggest as well putting a bit of technology linked in with the router that forces people to accept an acceptable use policy when signing on to the broadband. I think it's fair to say that we need to make sure that we are covered from the point of view of making sure people should only use it appropriately, and they're aware of those responsibilities. So that's a suggestion, and I can obviously provide further information at a future meeting regarding that.
Very sensible.
Fine.
Thank you.
Right, I'd like to go back to 8B. There's still unresolved matter on the clerk's salary. been dragging on for some time. I think it needs sorting. Emma, have you done your
Hello.
contract of employment yet?
No, I haven't. I've been a very busy girl this last week, actually, to be fair. As I mentioned to you, Paul, in a separate conversation, I do have a copy of my contract for my other parish council that I am happy to share to people, and we can find and replace Allah and swap it with Chilthorne Doma. And you know, your very similar parish councils to size, etc., and my responsibilities. So hopefully that would be.
I think you're looking for the words review and ratify as opposed to find and replace, but
depending entirely on what software you use. But yeah, hopefully that would be agreeable as a starting point at least.
Right. So if we can have that for the next meeting, then we can actually sign it off.
Yeah.
And the reference to the I always call it SALT, but it's not. It's N something, isn't it? That's the wages.
Well, there's SALC and there's NALC.
Yeah,
There's SALC, which is the Somerset Association of Local Councils, and there's NALC, which is the National Association of Local Councils.
Right. And I think in the past we've always gone with the latter on their recommendation. And I believe that's what we should do at this point in time as well. I don't know if there's any thoughts on this.
I mean, my understanding, reading the SALC and NALC literature on it, is that the real issue here is which level within those we consider appropriate to the post against the various. I note that they changed the terminology recently, but they still have the SCPs and the LCs against them. So I don't know how we make that decision, other than looking at a number that seems reasonable and negotiating on that basis.
Can I make a suggestion? Given that I certainly haven't read that literature. I think it might be worth if we review that between now and when we go and vote on the contract and get that formalised in the next meeting. If you can share the content with us so we can review that, just so we have an idea.
I shared it 2 months ago, Adam.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm sure the other parishioners will have read that then, in which case, and so I'll abstain from any voting.
I mean, I think
I got all that information, but I can't understand it.
Right. Paul, do you want me to push out a very short note round? Because I did spend about an hour this afternoon being a sad person going through all of it. I think an informal round of emails just to clarify, make sure we all understand what the levels are and what the discussion is. Emma, I don't know if you want to put a proposal to the council as well for us to consider offline.
Yeah, I can do. My only comment would be that we deferred it last week to be agreed this week, so we're now going to defer it another month plus.
We do have enough parishioners to vote, though. So I'll probably abstain just because of my lack of knowledge. I haven't had the chance to review it, but if there's enough people to vote on it, then we absolutely should do that.
That would be my only comment, is that it's, how often do we defer these things? When my point raised at the very start of the request was that I haven't had to pay rest for 2 years.
Right. Okay. Quick question, if I may, Paul.
Yeah, I might be able to answer your question very quickly. I'm currently on spinal column point 19. If that helps.
Right. Thank you.
Does that answer the question that I interrupted you on, Tim?
No, that's absolutely fine. Okay. I thought from the numbers we looked at last week that you were on 21. Okay, obviously got that wrong.
No, it was 21 that I requested going to, but taking into account the fact that I haven't had to pay rest for 2 years. Well, nearly 3. That I was requesting the 2 increments basically rather than 1.
Right. Okay. I mean, first question, Emma, is do we have to have this in open session, or will we be able to have this in a closed session?
No, we don't have to. We can do it in closed.
can we actually make a decision ex committee? In other words, if we circulate something and come to a quick review of it, so we can actually come back to you at the same time as your draft contract is there, and hopefully marry the two documents up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that sounds to me like it might be best. I'm quite happy to put a short note, particularly with that clarification, around, and make a proposal that on the way ahead.
Yep, Emma, you happy with that?
Fine.
Hamish?
That was a thumbs up from Hamish.
Yeah.
Right, and yourself, Emma?
Well, I refer you to my previous comment, but it looks like it's going to be deferred and not agreed this evening. So carry on.
Okay.
Yes,
I will get a note out tomorrow morning to everybody. Emma, I prefer not to copy you in with the initial note, but I'm happy to do so if you feel that it would be more appropriate. And that's an honest. I can't decide which is, in my mind, we ought to be open in the discussion. Perhaps if I put the initial note out so you can see the initial piece, and then obviously comment or criticise as appropriate, but that we then have a slightly private discussion. And people can throw things at what I'm doing, and then we come to a proposal to you.
Yeah, that's fine, because I can add any information then that you don't have or need or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that's probably the fairest route in that case. So I'll copy you into the initial one, and if everybody else can look carefully at the not use necessarily the reply all immediately.
I think, Emma, that on record, I think it's a fair point to say that we very much appreciate the work that you do for this council, and actually, very much agree that a pay review is required. So yeah, we'll get this resolved as quickly as we can.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, and absolutely endorsed.
And I think, to be fair to Emma, whatever we decide, it'll be backdated 2 months as well.
I'll make a recommendation on that in the note.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all.
Right. Item 16. Any other matters arising?
Do we want to do 15 first?
Yeah.
Sorry, Hamish, I missed you.
Oh dear.
Might be unconventional, but
I've got absolutely nothing to report after last week, except that a few people got trained up in cleaning the pipes for the beer, which you'll know all about, because Mr. Coe isn't going to carry on doing it. But apart from that, same position as the village hall, solvent but no income.
Okay. So who's going to run the bar out of interest?
Sorry?
All right. Okay. Item 16 then. Nothing?
Nope.
Okay. Item 17. Date of next meeting.
can I suggest that at the moment, subject to the planning application as mentioned earlier, we stick with the date on the agenda, but we might need to create another meeting.
You all happy with that?
Yeah, fine.
Are we happy that to be honest, I think that it's far more likely that we'll end up having an earlier meeting to discuss that planning application. I'd rather get a date in the diary now, even if it's a tentative one, than try to shoehorn it in at a couple of days' notice.
It'll be at least 3 clear days' notice, Tim.
Yeah, I know. My diary is getting...
I'm teasing. Bear with me. I'm just finding my diary now so I can give you some options of dates. As I said, they want comment by the 15th. And we potentially could ask for a day's extension on time, although saying that I could potentially give them comment after the meeting on the 15th, which is technically the 15th. So we could meet on the 15th, which is a Thursday. Alternatively, it would have to be the 8th to keep to a Thursday.
I suggest the 15th is probably more appropriate, given it's only a couple of weeks until the 8th, and the amount that's going to change between now and then is probably quite negligible.
And the amount of minutes I'm going to type up.
You are getting a pay rise, though, Emma. So, you know.
Well, possibly.
Depends if you behave.
15th. Should we pencil in the 15th
15th?
and remove it if we need to?
Okay. Everybody happy?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.